Hello, hello. Holy cow. It has been quite the hiatus. I know this. And unfortunately, as well, there's not too much to update on, except for if you read the title, I kind of do have a way ahead with the car. Um, it's just been a series of phone calls and such, figuring out something to do. And then one of the more recent developments was with the heads. And thankfully, I went to go pick those up, which I'll get to later. But so now I have a set of cores, which is what one of the shops was asking for. So, like I said, I don't really have much to update. The engine is still out, and it's actually boxed up. And so that is the engine that was overheated and melted and turned the cooling system into a heating system and just did bad things overall. And then you got that engine, or these case halves right here, and that engine right there. So let's get into it. So honestly, it's been so long. I'll just kind of recap what I can, just in case I don't know whether it's in another video or not. But so when I blew the engine, overheated the engine. Didn't blow because everything is still intact. I'll get to that later as well because that's part of the developments. Um, but I was originally planning to take all of it to IAG for inspection. So I was going to take the short block and the heads and see what could be done. Well, I when I pulled the heads off, I decided not to take that engine in because the cylinder liner had been melted into one of the water jacket ports. Obviously, I mean, maybe if I was to go to someone that was willing to risk it and do like a Steve Morris type thing, I could possibly get it welded, but I don't even want to take that chance. And I don't know any shops that are even comparable to that. But also, Steve does it on billet blocks. I don't know if he does it on cast blocks or not, but that's another story. That's way out of my budget, and obviously, I'm not an LS guy or anything like that, so that's not even of a question unless there's someone comparable. So, what the idea is the rotating assembly in this engine is, I think, still good. The block itself is still rotating. If I really wanted to try, I could probably reuse the pistons as well. However, since I'm going back to this block, and honestly, because it was used so little, like the cylinder walls are still extremely smooth. Um, like there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever, and I know you guys can't really see in there, but the cross hatching that's supposed to be in there is still good, and everything like this is perfectly fine. um, However, um, I don't know if it would have to be overboard by the slightest margin, and if it does, obviously the pistons aren't going to work because they're going to be flopping all over the place in the cylinder. So what the plan is to take the crank and the rods out of the engine that was overheated and put it into here. And I was calling around everywhere. Um, so the original plan was, I have all these blocks laying around. I wanted to use one, but there was nobody that I was calling that was willing to do the job. Some of them said they might be willing to help out. So the original thought was to get the IAG 750 long block. I was trying to make that as affordable as I could. But then I was like, I really don't need that. And in order, like, I know it gives me plenty of headroom, even if I were to go with lower power. I want to keep the power as low as possible, or permit myself to have as little power as possible. So then the idea was to go with their 550 package. Um, that was still, I couldn't justify the cost just because there's things coming up like tax season, which is going on right now, and first time ever having to owe the government money. But I won't get into that whole deal. I see it as a positive. Um, And then, so I was going to go with trying everything. Then I was going to go with the RA short block kit that IAG offers, and then go with their 550 heads. And to cut out all the research and whatnot, I ended up talking with a friend. He's like, "How about this shop or this shop?" I forget what the first shop was, but then I think it was a shop that I was familiar with, and they had already said that they weren't willing to play around with the block itself. So I called up the other shop, which is Teeter Automotive out of North Aurora, Illinois. Now the funny part is, my friend thought they were in Virginia, or at least closer to Virginia, but they're all the way in Illinois. But I decided to give them a call anyway, and I talked to them, and I said these are what my plans were, kind of Frankensteining a build, if you will. And they're like, "Yeah, dude, send it in to us. We are willing to do it." And like, you go to their website and everything, and they're rebuilding. Like, one of their advertising things is blown engine. We can repair that. And I think I got honestly lucky when I built the engine in the first place. I was looking around as if it's here. I think I got lucky in the first place because the shop that I originally brought the car to, which is In Front Automotive out of Auburn, Washington. I think I just got lucky that they were willing to put blocks together. Everywhere else that I was going, I guess it's just cheaper, or it makes more business sense for them to put the engine together themselves, or put their parts together themselves, rather than me sending parts to them and them using seasoned case halves and whatnot. So they just build their own. But then I get left with all these blocks that are just kind of doing nothing, and I didn't want to do that. So Teeter Automotive said, send us the empty case halves, send us the block that you have the rotating assembly in that was burnt up or melted, and we'll see what we can do. Obviously, the crank and the rods still have to check out there. I'll also have to replace the main and rod bearings, and like I said, the pistons, and then put it into the RevWorks block that I have here that is partially closed decked. I mean, I don't, because of the case bolts right there, but oddly enough, only the rear cylinder here on this one had to get the plugs pulled out, so I don't know what's going on here. Um, but I'll talk to them. If they can come up with a plan to get that sorted out, I'd be more than happy. Um, so that's that for the block. So I'm going to have Teeter Automotive do a short block rebuild on this, and bring this back to its glory days with this. So this is the original block, and let me go find my flashlight really quick if I knew where that was, which I don't. Um, Either way, anyway. So you're not gonna be able to see it very well, but maybe you can. You can tell that the dish isn't shiny in one corner on the front end, like right there. That's a chunk of the piston missing. So this is the original engine. This is the one that has 99,000 miles on it. This is the one that the piston gave out on the last pool of the night, which kind of, I guess, fortunate because it blew up while tuning rather than me going on the street trying to go to work or something and having car problems. So what I told them is I would also like to rebuild this engine, and that was they didn't they said they'd be willing to try if they can do it. So in this, I think everything, obviously, again, minus the pistons, is good. However, I'm still going to replace everything just to get everything forged and all that. But I also want to use their offering of the closed decking process that they have. So the original EJ255 would end up being a closed deck too, which would be pretty awesome. So that's that for that. Now we jump over to the heads, and this is a whole lot worse than I could remember. So look at that there. You can't really see inside all too well, but it literally shines through. Water port met exhaust port, and bad things happen there. Lots of heat and water getting boiled. This head I think is still good. So what the plan is for this, and I think the valves can get replaced, but I'm hoping the springs are still good. So if I can keep the springs and all that stuff or if I can at least keep the springs, I'll be fine. Maybe even the retainers, we'll see. Anyway, I forget what the shop is, but the shop is out of Florida. And what they do is I needed I needed the castings as a core. So what they do is they pretty much get rid of the cores and use a upgraded thicker casting, so that it's more robust, which hopefully will help this area. Um, so and then they inspect all these parts. So like here, this is why I don't think I'm going to be able to keep any of the valves. If I'm going to replace the valves in one head, I might as well replace them in the other as well, obviously. But they would go through all this, check if the springs, valves, or yeah, the springs, the valves, retainers, all the fun jazz inside these, if they're good, but they replace what they need to replace into the new thicker castings. So that's going to be those are going to this is going to be going to Florida. And then when I talked to Teeter Automotive the other day, apparently they also do head builds, which is not something that they advertise on their website. I just happened to ask the question, and the guy that I spoke to said all day. So hopefully that goes as well. Um, and honestly, something that I've been getting recommended was, or yeah, advice on was not to reuse my cams. So these are GSC S2s. They are the first generation, and I'm being told that they are worn down. Like I can see the shininess on the lobes there. Um, but I think what I'm going to do, and y'all might think I'm stupid, but I'm trying to save just a little bit or go back. I mean, I had an SD card issue, so here we are recording again. So, so like I said, I was being told that the cam lobes were weighing down on the buckets. Now I have the GSC S2s, and apparently, I don't know. These are the first gen of the new thing that they were trying out. But I'm being told that the lobe profile is thinner on the Gen ones, and they I guess get thicker as the years go on for more rigidity or whatever. Um, I don't. I'm none the wiser on this subject, so I'm just gonna take their word for it. But at the same time, I'm also going to try and reuse these. Um, so with me reusing these, I know I'm taking a risk, but at the same time, a little bit of a cost savings. So the idea is at the end of every season, probably around like December or so, because it gets too cold here to go on track and do anything fun, to pull the engine and look at it again. Replace the head gasket and all that fun jazz. Just look everything over and make sure everything's good. Hopefully, this will prevent a lot of issues in the future. We shall see. Hopefully, I'll be able to identify stuff if there is anything that's going to go wrong. But at least also the plan is to have this chap as a backup if in case anything happens. So turn those in, blah blah blah, through the company in South or in Florida, and then get another set of heads from Teeter Automotive, the same place that's going to be redoing this engine if it can be done, or the short block. So that is the way ahead. Um, we'll see what all happens, and I don't know. I'm kind of optimistic. I'm kind of actually happy that I found a place that can actually rebuild, because like obvious racing would be a lot more expensive if all the every